Joined in the studio by Brian Schneider. He's the editor at News Tank Football. Good to see you, Brian. Also with me is James Creedon, who's been looking at online reaction to the story as well. So we'll be talking to James as well. Brian, first to you, though. What do you make, first of all, of this whole racism row? Because this is one of France's best players saying, hey, I've been left off the squad for a football tournament here in France. I suspect it's because of my last name. It's because of my heritage.
It's always a difficult story to talk about race in France in general, and then, of course, to put this into the sporting context right here, and, of course, right before the tournament. Now, as everyone knows, Benzema was dropped from the squad due to his legal situation with that has been going on with another player, Mathieu Balbuena. This happened several months ago, and about 1 month ago, it was the French Football Federation that decided that he was going to be not necessarily suspended, but unavailable for selection, as they put it. And Benzema said he was disappointed at the time, and he waited 1 month later and right before the tournament. And now he's talking about the racism of the federation and also specifically the manager, Dider Deschamps. It's hard to say. I'm not going to sit here. I do not personally know Dider Deschamps, so I can't comment anyway on what his views are. But in terms of the French Football Federation, it would be hard to call the federation itself racist with their history of integrating players from all parts of France, all the way back to 1998, if everyone remembers.
The glory days.
The glory days. One interesting thing we talked about in our office today, that if you actually look at the racial makeup of the current 23 players that are selected for France right now, it is almost exactly the same as 1998.
When we had Thierry Henry, of course, we had
basically the exact same number of black players, and of course of generally one or two North African players. Of course, in 1998 was Zinedine Zidane, and now it was Adel Rami was just called in. So it's interesting, the social dynamic of how we have a squads that are almost exactly the same in 1998 and now in 2016. In 1998, it was a celebration of diversity, and now in 2016, we have the exact opposite approach to the squad makeup, even though the numbers are about the same.
James, it's become a very ugly affair, hasn't it, with all sorts of accusations flying around. As I say, Dider Deschamps hasn't officially responded, but he has got a lot of support.
That's right. Well, it's interesting, Brian, that you were talking about 1998, when France won the World Cup with a team that had a similar profile or breakdown in terms of race or origins. Let's take a look at a couple of articles talking about that. This in Le Monde, the white North African, black blanc beurre. This was the slogan that was used at the time to describe the sort of multicultural nature of the French team. And it was a celebration, in fact. It was a slogan that was used in a very positive way about a France that was embracing its multicultural heritage, even though the word multiculturalism in France is a bit taboo. The France of black blanc beurre in 1998 is a myth. Now, that's the point of view of one writer who has written about the topic, saying that there was this sort of utopian way of interpreting the French side's victory at the time, and that really, in fact, it wasn't representative of a France that was easy with its image, easy with its identity, easy with its current social sort of multicultural breakdown. Marianne as well talking about this, saying, well, actually, since 1998, when everybody was out in the streets celebrating France's victory in the World Cup in France, and, well, actually, the whole question of race has become, or the whole question of French football has become racialized since 1998. So the issue of race has become more tense since that time, even with the same breakdown in terms of who is from where.
Relatively the same numbers.
Just
yes.
to give you an example of that, right? There is a tweet here by you can see it embedded into another tweet. It's from a Marine Le Pen fan account, right? Marine Le Pen, of course, head of the far right. And what this fan account is saying, well, you have 9 white players out of 23. How can you accuse? How can you accuse Dider Deschamps of being racist? Now, first of all, he didn't accuse Dider Deschamps of being racist.
He said he'd bowed to racism.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is an important distinction to make, I think. But I think that tweet there, where this is a BuzzFeed journalist who's trying to set the record straight, but it shows, I think it illustrates the extent to which the same racial breakdown in the team today compared to 2000. Compared to the team 1998, it's not the same
social context.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Issues have got
but I mean, what this is contributing to is, I mean, a whole cloud over the Euro 2016 tournament, isn't it? I mean, it's now just over a week away. We've got strikes, we've got terrible weather, we've got major security concerns. Just yesterday, the US State Department said it could be a target for terrorists. It's looking pretty grim at the moment.
At the moment,
isn't it?
yes. Certainly, everyone's talking about the U.S. State Department. Really, all they did was agree with the French government that kept the state level of emergency. There are several threats to the tournament right now. The first one being terrorism itself, and it's not so much the stadiums that they're concerned about. It's easier to secure a stadium. Now, you can't do it 100%. The number one concern right now is the fan zones in all of the host cities. How do you secure something like that, a large gathering of people there, and also soft targets like the bars and restaurants. So that's actually probably what security officials are more concerned about right now than the stadiums themselves. And then, of course, there's the second threat of the transportation strike that we really don't know how that's going to go right now. There's also a bit of irony in that the SNCF is a major partner of the tournament. They are a national sponsor of the tournament, and they're the ones saying that they're going to continue with their plan for a large-scale strike on June 14th. So that would be 4 days into the competition. And the big question is, okay, for people that have lived in France, so what does this strike mean? Is it, 30% of the lines, 40%, 50%, 60%? And how is this going to work out, this kind of game of chicken about are you going to strike during the tournament? There are some people that say once the tournament starts, it's going to be harder to maintain a strike because then you could possibly be seen as embarrassing the country on a global stage. So every day of the tournament that goes on with a disruption of transportation, it brings more attention to it in that the public may turn against the strikers. I've been in France for a little bit. I'm not sure that I would agree with that, but that's what some people are saying right there. Mm-hmm. And of course, the last threat right now is the weather with the flooding in different parts of France. That is a minor concern of the tournament at the time. Certainly, it's a big problem for lots of towns and lots of areas of France, but the stadiums right now are okay.
All right. James, have you got anything to cheer us up over there?
Oh, right. Well, certainly not on the reactions to Karim Benzema's comments. It is all quite serious and heavy in terms of the reaction. Just to kind of give a couple of facts on it, it was an interview given to the Spanish sports newspaper La Marca, which is quite close to the Real Madrid side, if I'm not mistaken. He was essentially rehashing comments that have been made previously, for example, by Eric Cantona, who said that Dider Deschamps may have left out certain players, including Benzema, on racial grounds. This is obviously speculative. It also echoes comments made by the very prominent French comedian Jamel Debbouze, saying that essentially what is happening with the French football side in terms of perhaps certain players being sidelined illustrates a malaise in France or an uneasiness in France that is felt by a lot of French people who feel rejected by another France. In other words, France really not being very at ease with its multicultural nature. Now, one theory that I think is really a bit far-fetched, but why not throw it out there? Did La Marca, a Spanish newspaper, obviously probably in favour of Spain winning in Euro 2016, did they publish this interview to create tension in France, in French football? Sabotage by the back door. I don't know, probably not. But
with the French team, there's always seems to be enough tension there already. I don't think an outside country needs to come in. There's generally enough tension in the country already.
I know, but strikes, rain, racism rows.
A potential conspiracy theory at vis-a-vis La Marca.
Theories. The summer has got off to quite a start, hasn't it, gentlemen? Thank you very much indeed. Brian Schneider there from News Tank Football and James Creedon as well. Now, moving on.